I'm Officer Erick Nunez with the Newport News Police Department.
And I'm Darryle Brown with Transitions Family Violence Service. I am the community advocate.
So, as a patrol officer, we can't go one day without hearing or seeing the word domestic or domestic assault come across our screen or across our radio or something. And as a patrol officer, I know that domestic violence doesn't stick to a specific neighborhood. There's no one type of victim. Domestic violence doesn't know socioeconomic class or race or creed or orientation or anything like that.
True.
So, as a specialist, I just have a couple questions about domestic violence with some of the questions I've been brought up as a patrol officer.
Okay.
So there's a perception that victims, sometimes they like the abuse or they go out and look for abusive relationships.
Okay.
Well, what do you think about that? Is that true?
That is untrue.
Okay.
People want relationships that are meaningful and happy. And so when you first get into a relationship, of course, it's not abusive.
Right.
If people came to you in an abusive way, then there wouldn't be a relationship. So the abuse it goes on after a time. So it's not that people want to be in an abusive relationship, because how many people have you met that came to you and said, oh, I met the most abusive person in the world,
right,
and we're about to get married.
Okay.
So that's not a true statement. It's a myth.
Okay. So, if victims are stuck in these relationships, why don't they just leave?
And that's another myth that people say, well, they should just leave. If it's that bad, why don't they leave?
Right.
And there are a multitude of reasons why people stay in relationships. And one of the top ones is that people are afraid. So if I tell you that if you leave me, I will kill you and I will kill your family, or wherever you go, I'm able to find you,
Right.
then it's hard for me to leave. If I don't have the finances and I'm financially dependent upon you, I might not leave.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't feel like I have support, that people don't believe me when I say that maybe the top Commonwealth Attorney's Office, sorry about that, but the top Commonwealth Attorney officer is my abuser, then no, people will say, well, no, not him, because he's so nice, he's so kind, he does so much for the community.
Right.
The shame, religious reasons, people don't leave, thinking that I've made a mistake or I'm dumb for being in an abusive relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if I'm an immigrant, then I might not leave because I don't know what the laws are of this country. If I'm undocumented, I'm not going to leave because who am I going to report it to? So there's a lot of reasons why people stay.
Okay. And you talked something about support. A question that I have is, what can family members or friends or neighbors or anybody can do to help people in these situations?
Number one is they can believe them and be there to listen to what the person has to say. Don't judge them. Don't criticize them. Don't even demonize the abuser. Don't ask them, well, why did you stay? If it was that bad, why did you stay so long? Be willing to give whatever resources are available in the community for that person. And also just encourage family members and community to learn all they can in reference to domestic violence, to be an advocate for domestic violence prevention. So those are things that the community can do to help a survivor.
Thank you very much for having this conversation with me.
Well, thank you.
I'll definitely use this when I'm out on patrol and use some of these things to help.
And can you tell me, as a officer and as a community member, what can be your commitment in reference to domestic violence prevention?
So, as an officer, I can commit to believing in the victim. I can commit to understanding that everybody is impacted by domestic violence.
True.
I can commit to disrupting the culture of silence about violence. And I can commit to being an advocate to end domestic violence.
Thank you. And I really want to thank you for that commitment. I know that survivors everywhere are happy that law enforcement is committing to ending domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you.